Hello, everybody, and welcome to the April Fool's Eve edition of Down the Donut Hole podcast. We've got the nervous news. There is still something, sadly.
Oh, goodness.
And later, we'll figure out what, if anything, it means to be, or what you have to do, what your obligations on April Fool's Eve.
Yeah. That's not bad.
It's like the April Fool's pre-show.
That lasts longer than the actual event.
Don't you feel kind of like instead of Groundhog's Day, you're just on repeat and all this kind of deja vu sort of thing? Don't you feel like a lot of the things that we found worrisome a few years back, that they've come back to haunt us and we're reliving all of that again? And oh my gosh.
Are you confessing to some kind of crime?
No, I'm too boring to be a criminal and too dumb to figure out all the ins and outs and all the loose ends that would have to be tied up to be a good criminal and get away with it, or have a good chance of getting away with it.
Did you say you're too dumb to be a criminal?
Yeah.
I think you're too smart to be a criminal. Have you seen some of the criminals out there?
My mama didn't raise me to be no criminal.
They do whole shows about dumb criminals.
They do. Do you notice?
I'm going to be a star.
How many shows are about criminals? I think,
murder.
wow.
I call them murder shows, and I still don't understand why women love them.
Well, you talk about the nervous news, and my argument is it's supposed to get you nervous on purpose for some reason. I don't know why. Why would you do that?
Money.
I have my worries about that, and one of the things, I'm just going to say it, and this has been kind of twisting around in my mind for a while. People are really upset. That's undeniable. It doesn't matter which side of the fence you're working from. Everybody's upset.
I don't think everybody's upset. I think half of the country's upset.
No,
half of them are
both
happy.
sides. Both sides are very upset. And I do think
they're each upset with each other.
Yeah, and they're blaming each other and
yeah.
blaming what went before, and they've got these great plans, and anybody that doesn't get on board 100% is against them. And historically, when we were great, that's not how we worked. We worked together. We had different viewpoints, different ways of going about things, but we were hitched to the same wagon. Now there's just pot shots every day, literally and figuratively. We are kind of unhinged. And my worry is when I watch the news, I think, this keeps escalating. The fighting, the infighting, the accusations, people burning cars, people throwing stones, people shooting at each other, all in the name of furthering a political ideology that you personally hold dear and that the people over there have the opposite feeling. It's not going to take a whole bunch more of that before it might seem appropriate to declare martial law.
Oops.
Now, how do you feel about that? And it doesn't matter about what side you're on. Is that something that you, as an American, are feeling good about? Can you guys argue with me and say, nah, that's not going to happen. Don't worry about it?
Who was that leader that did that, though? Was that in El Salvador?
Yeah, look at them.
Well, what happened with that story? I don't know the full details.
There was a lot of gang activity. There was so much crime, or I haven't researched the history.
I'm not advocating for that, but
no, but
I'm just wondering what happened with it.
It did work, though.
It did work. People could go to the park again and not get shook down by gangs, and there was a lot less street violence and crime and all of this. And so he just rounded up everybody, mostly males, of a particular age group, anything that looked like gang insignia. That was enough for him to round those people up. And
so don't get a gang tattoo as a joke. Amuse your friends.
At this point
not
in
a good
time,
idea.
At this point, maybe Donald Duck or something, a daisy or something. But nowadays, it's probably not a good idea because who knows what group will spring up and that'll be the logo. And there's you with permanent ink on you. So use your head right now because these are not great times on either side. And the pendulum swings. You have to know that. What seems like it's a going thing right now and it's full steam ahead, there will be an equal reaction to that, a backlash to that.
Man, I miss old-fashioned hippies.
I know. Hey, man.
Jeez, man. Music and
love,
protest
peace,
songs.
rock and roll.
Like me.
Yeah. Yeah, like you. And your mindset is still kind of that way, which probably will coast you through
but now it's,
these fraught times much better than the average person.
I don't know how much I believe of the people that are protesting today because, and I don't mean like at this moment, but I mean in the modern era because like the social media protesters, they seem pretty wimpy. They don't want to get dirty. They just want to, they're like children. They like stomp their feet and cry and do crazy childish stuff. As long as they can justify it in their own minds, I guess, they feel like maybe egged on by different things they watch, like hour 27 of watching the same news channel. But what's baffling to me is not just the heightened emotional responses to stuff, but also like, why are you recording what you're doing? They're out there like keying cars or whatever. That's the example I can think of right off the top of my head. But they're like keying a car and recording themselves doing it for like TikTok. It's like, look what I did. It's like, maybe don't do that.
Yeah,
I think it's
not anything that would be a
bad
solution.
boy or
No.
a bad girl influencer thing.
And you're not helping yourself. I mean, you're changing the focus of whatever it is you're protesting.
It's walking the line between being an influencer, which is the cool thing to be these days, and just flat out barrier aggression.
Are you bragging again about being an influencer?
Oh, you should see all the mayhem I can cause.
Yeah, we'll have another episode about the barrier aggression problem.
Well, just explain what it is, because you're good at that.
Just the tendency of people to be more mean to each other when they can't see each other. Basically, there's a barrier. There's a division of some sort there.
Dogs too, right?
Yeah, dogs. We see it in the animal world, definitely.
Let's not bring the dogs into it. What did they do?
Well, if you pass it, do you ever pass by like another car and they've got a dog in there and the dog is snarling his face off as you pass by, but there's a window, he's in there, you're out there, and he's just the most vicious looking thing. And then 5 minutes later, the owner is there, takes the dog out on the leash for a few minutes before the trip home, and that dog could not be sweeter. And
yeah, but then you see his tweet, rough, 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 and you're just like, I can't believe why is he reacting this way?
It's the same guy.
I think the social media, and I'm not going to call it X. How do you say that though?
What?
X instead of Twitter. You're going to tweet something.
Seems like the news media says X. Formerly Twitter.
Yeah,
Why
because
bother?
it doesn't make sense. I'm going to X something. What?
Well, that's a copyright thing.
Yeah, I think so.
But I think it's been long enough now. Just call it X. No one cares if it was Twitter before.
I don't care who it is. That's dumb. I get it. It's like, it's the X Twitter. Is that what it is? Or no, it's a branding thing.
Well, I avoid.
That would be EX.
I avoid X
right.
because I feel that as long as the commander of X is jumping around
That is official
in the
title.
White House, I don't want anything to do with that because that seems like you're part of the you're a subject of the news in a political way, and you also control a huge communications channel. To me, that's
great.
Pairing is not that we should frown on that. That's too much. It's too much. And the same guy is handing out checks to people to vote in the state of Wisconsin, and I got a problem with it. I got so many.
You know
problems.
what you need to do? You know what you need to do? Write a strongly worded tweet. That'll handle that. Then you can go back to.
And it will be allowed
on the Riviera.
It will be allowed because that was part of the thing.
I was going to actually talk about all these crime shows like you mentioned. It's like, talk about nervous news. How about all these shows where it's like the true ones and the based on true stories. I'm getting all choked up thinking about them. But
Have another cup of coffee.
But it's like, it's nice to be sitting there with your girlfriend while she's watching, 24 hours of women that kill their husbands and how to dissolve their unconscious bodies in a bucket of hydrochloric acid. It's like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to just go.
She's tidy.
I'm going to leave.
That didn't give you a peaceful,
You could just come right out and say
That's a
it
true
for
story. That
God's
really
sakes.
happened.
more than one time?
Yeah, it was like all the time, nonstop, like horrific stories of people being murdered and stuff.
What's
It's
your perspective as a card-carrying member?
Of the
Why?
gal?
Yeah.
Lead?
Why do women love murder shows so
Well,
much?
here's what I
It
think.
seems
like you were saying, it's the
counterintuitive.
natural female hostility against men, is what you were saying.
No, I never said that. You
See, now look. Now, here we go.
Look, as soon as you put a microphone in front of him, there he is, spreading his misinformation.
That's my delivery today.
Yeah, that's right. No, you know what I think it is? I think the appeal of that is that women want not to be tricked, not to fall for stuff that they should have seen coming. And so if you have this library of true crime somewhere floating around in your head, it makes you feel a little bit more clued up and a little less vulnerable. There was this, I found it absolutely fascinating, this study, and I don't know who did it, and this is just the gist of it. But they had two groups, males, females, and they showed both groups a picture of a path through a park. And I don't know whether this was a proposed path or an actual photograph. I remember vaguely there was a lamp. The path was very curvy, and it had beautiful vegetation along both sides. And they showed this picture just of this path through a park, and it was a night image. And almost without exception, the men said, "Oh, that's great. Look how nice that is. That's really beautiful." And almost equally, without exception, the women said, "That's a dangerous path."
Yeah, it's those dumb crime shows.
No,
that's why.
No, because women, you come from a mindset of vulnerability, usually.
That's true.
And so it's easier for someone to beat you up, and you grow up.
Oh, I disagree.
You grow up with that understanding.
I really, really disagree. Throughout history, it's been proven how we've put women on pedestals and made them. We've never cheated them out of any kind of.
Actually, you're not wrong. I know that was tongue in cheek, but you're not wrong. If you go into deep anthropology, then we have revered women more than we haven't.
Well, they're revering us.
Yeah, and then something happened where it was like, oh, maybe we need to get some credit.
The goddess cultures is what I'm talking about, and that'd be another good show.
Yeah, that would be a good
show.
So
you think basically you're saying that they're kind of maybe subconsciously practicing or gathering information about how to deal with situations like that by watching these shows.
And the kinds of red flags that you might become aware of, controlling behaviors, dominance behaviors.
That's what I mean. It's not been helpful for me.
Are you exhibiting these behaviors?
No, but I see what you're saying. I get it. It's like, but at some point it becomes, it makes you paranoid.
That's probably true. And I would say that as a female, you have to be aware. If you have little kids, believe me, there's this instinct, and I will talk about some instinct in just a minute. There's an instinct that you have to be protective, which means you have to be very aware of your surroundings. You have to be very aware of who the people are around you. And if you watch the newscast and you see all of these crimes against children, it makes you very wary about who you associate with. Mm-hmm. And now in the age of social media, it's, in a way, there's a certain comfort in conducting your relationships online.
That's the barrier now, the barrier aggression.
I think this also brings us back around to the advice about not consuming too much news. So, that line between training yourself by watching something like that and becoming paranoid is just how much you consume of it and not knowing when to cut that off.
And also being present in the moment. You know, so many people are on, they can't go to a movie or a dinner or out with friends or anything. They're always checking their phone. If you have a babysitter at home and a couple of kids, 2-3 kids, and they're, you know, maybe they're getting squabbles with each other or something like that. Yeah, you look at your phone every little while to see if there's any message from the babysitter, because it's nice if you can turn the ringer off for a few minutes and just kind of chill out, be away from it, recharge your personal batteries, and then go back to it. Same goes with work phones. I mean, work now, since work from home, you're like always on the clock. And I think the temptation to stay checked into all of that is taking away from your ability to be fully present otherwise. And so I think as we respond to the long list of things to be wary of, things to be nervous of, things to be watchful of, and things to comment on after you've informed yourself, and again, every day we repeat this pretty much, from multiple news sources. Do not rely on one, because you're putting yourself in a vulnerable position, because if only one person is giving you information, that's a whole lot of trust that can be abused, misused, and you will wind up the loser.
So just watch Fox News is what you're saying?
Well, any particular, don't be too dedicated to any source. Balance it out. If Fox News or whatever news is indicating that they would prefer that you don't view other things, or they kind of denigrate other news agencies and stuff, that's the exact one you need to go to, so that you're hearing 2 sides of every story.
3 sides.
Or 3 sides is better, or 4 sides. Look online, watch other news sources.
We're in an age now where you don't have to just watch broadcast TV anymore, where you have 3 networks and then, PBS.
Yeah.
So you have other options. You can go watch BBC or Al Jazeera, or you could.
Those are kind of good too, because that's an outside perspective.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, last week in Europe there were alerts that the public needs to kind of gear up their own households, prepare for difficulties, stockpile supplies was the admonition for people.
That's the sure way to make sure that there's no supplies left.
Yeah, I know, but with enough lead time, there will be. So the European Union, they issued a warning to, I guess it's, like 450 million people, to kind of start stockpiling supplies, not in a nervous way, but when you go to the grocery store to buy whatever, your groceries, pick up a few things that you can put on the pantry shelf.
How could that announcement not be nervous?
The barn is on fire. Proceed in an orderly fashion out the door.
No, I know what that tells me. Now, this morning,
what
early.
does it tell you?
Was that official?
That was
a source?
Yes, it was. That was the European Union. They just issued a dire warning to its 450 million citizens. Stockpile supplies and prepare for disaster.
That seems irresponsible to say, to get people upset like that.
Yeah, that's why I asked if that was an official source or not.
Right now,
no matter how you justify it, you don't get people to panic.
With the Russia-Ukraine war full steam ahead,
Year
despite
3, 4.
Despite efforts to come to some sort of a peace agreement by President Trump and his contingent of emissaries. And believe me when I say this, I want that to succeed. I think most of us want that to succeed. I want it to succeed not because the deeper the United States gets drawn into those foreign contracts and conflicts, we have more and more skin in the game, and it's difficult to separate ourselves from all of that in an increasing pattern.
Yeah. And I do applaud the president for saying that we must stop the killing and the bloodshed. he does say that almost every time the subject comes up, so that's good.
Yes, he's right about that. And I wish he could be more vocal about saying it as far as the Israeli-Gaza conflict rages on. And now we've dropped bombs over in Yemen, so we're involved in that. And I saw this morning that Germany is gearing up its war machine.
Oh, good.
You know what? When I saw that, it kind of sent a shudder through me. But no one is more upset about that than the German people themselves, because they feel they made mistakes that drew them into a horrible, horrible position that they still bear the shame of.
Yeah, we have very close friends that live in Germany.
We do.
And we know that
so lovely.
How they feel.
And so dear, and that is truly how they feel. And now we have basically put all of Europe on notice that they should not and could not count on us in the event of a big conflict. And with this...
Is that the dire warning?
That's
what that's connected to?
Yes. And we have Norway opening up their old World War II tunnels that they had. They're cleaning those out. They're cleaning out their barracks. All of Europe is preparing for war.
Wait, didn't Norway deny they had those?
No, everybody knew they had those.
Oh.
But they're cleaning them out. They're cleaning out the cobwebs. They're dusting things off. They're looking at their own military preparedness. So we have stepped down as the world's guardian big daddy. We have put everybody on notice. Hey, guys, you're on your own. And they have no choice but to gear up. And if that was issued, if that was meant to save us money, I don't know that we zoomed out far enough, because I don't see how this is going to work that way.
Oh, now they
and
want our
nobody's,
help.
well, they're not real interested in
Confused.
buying weapons from us, the world's greatest arms manufacturer. Why would they do that? If we're saying, hey, you're on your own, screw you, why would they say, hey, we'd like to place an order?
We just need to make Europe the 53rd state. The whole continent.
So you're thinking one world government?
Wait. Aren't we also against that, though?
We are earthlings on that pale blue dot,
I'm
after all.
confused.
So
We are.
Think about it that way.
So this is some of the nervous news. Should we be nervous about that? Well, yeah, we should. But again, it's our job to take a nice, even viewpoint of everything and do what we can with our voice, with our behavior and our actions to keep things from, don't light the match.
But it's like the crime shows. You can't make yourself so nervous that you can't enjoy a nice walk in a beautiful park.
That's right. True. But make sure that there's plenty of lighting and that bushes are trimmed back so we can see what's on the other side of that curve. Right?
So walk in the desert.
Parking lot, man. You're walking in
know.
the parking lot right around the, well, not the perimeter, because, you can't see in the shadows over there. So that's kind of a nervous thing. We have our...
Well, what do they want people to do, though? What do they want them to do? Just board up their windows and hide in their houses?
No, but
I don't
they're
understand.
telling people that, well, certainly Norway, with its proximity to Russia, they absolutely state that they do not believe that Russia will be satisfied with Ukraine.
This is all about Ukraine?
This is all about...
Or is this
this
stuff?
is all about imperialism. And it doesn't take a whole bunch of mental gymnastics to come up with the idea that we're going into a different era
And
now.
you're mentioning
It's
the EU.
It's not about oil anymore.
It's about minerals.
It's about minerals.
Sorry, I shouldn't
It's
have shouted
about
that. But
rare earth. It's
gotta have a knock
about
on the
minerals.
door.
And so now the precious stuff is a little different than it was previously. And so where are the big deposits of those kinds of
I just
things?
want to issue a quick correction on something. I think a few episodes back I mentioned, I don't know what we're talking about, but I mentioned the UK and stuff, and I meant to say the EU. The UK is clearly not part of the EU anymore since Brexit, right?
Yes.
So, sorry, EU.
Yeah, that's right. Was it a hat thing? That got us in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, Hatgate.
Anyway, you had some personal, lighter, nervous events over the weekend.
For me personally, it was the most nervous news ever. You've heard us talk about Kelly. Des, I have to thank you so much for what you did yesterday because...
Getting hit by lightning?
Yeah, you could have been. Yesterday, the weather here was terrific. Horrific. Torrential downpours, lightning, no hail that I detected right where we are. But it was a bad day. It started early in the morning here, and it was pretty much continuous every little while, all day long, horrible storms. Well, I went down yesterday to see Kelly. I usually bring a little dish for her to eat. And if you know, Kelly is a feral cat who is crashing with us while she raises her new babies. So she had 4 kittens a while back. They're darling, 2 weeks back. And they'll be 3 weeks on Thursday, a couple days from now. And so, anyway, I went down there yesterday. I had prepared a box because poor old Kelly, she couldn't do much more than just sit and look weary. So I prepared a box, and yes, indeed, she did have her kittens in the box, 4 of them. They're darling. Everything's been going great. Turns out she's a pretty good mama, except she likes her me time during the day, and I brush her and, give her lots of attention because Kelly's very young. She's probably 7 months, maybe 8 months herself. She's very little. And so yesterday morning, went down, check on Kelly and the kittens. Gone. All of them were gone. Kelly wasn't there. The kittens weren't there. And this, where we live in a cottage in a rural area. And the owls at night it's just a symphony of owl songs. During the day, the hawks are circling. And I know there's a fox that he takes advantage around here. And so, the weather was horrible.
With the box you have them in, they're not big enough to get out of that box on their own.
They were not. And as far as I knew, none of them could walk. I mean, they've been scooting around in the box, but none of them were standing up or anything. And so, in fact, we put up a little short the other day, just a week ago, or not even a week ago, to show progress of these kittens and all of that. So they're gone yesterday. I looked around. We have a screened-in patio. It's really a carport. And we use it kind of like we sit out there and we have a little place that we can set down and drink or whatever. But there's a lot of junk in the corners.
A carport with a bar. You're working on your Mod Podge.
I'm working on my Mod Podge bar, but there's also like a box of old tools. There's wood propped up in the corner. It's like somebody's garage, frankly. We don't have a garage, but so that room is, and with the screens, you can sit out there later without getting eaten alive by skeeters. Anyway, no kittens. We looked all over. We called Kelly. Finally, Kelly materializes. And she was hunting around looking with us. She went over there. I have one of those 5-gallon buckets with a bunch of gardening tools in there and some other junk. And she goes over and she stands up, stretches herself up and peers down in that. And she's looking under a table, and behind there's a little sofa there that
She's all like worried and stuff.
She acted. But then after a while, Kelly just kind of settled down. And we were thinking, Kelly, really, if your babies have disappeared or you put them somewhere, why are you here? You're a mama now. You need to be where the babies are. There's lots of things, especially in the horrible weather. Shouldn't you be making sure that they're warm and dry as this horrible rainstorm continues and continues?
And where's the father?
Yeah, where is he? I saw several candidates. Yeah, Kelly did have a lot of boyfriends there a while back. So But when you're beautiful like that, what do you expect? So, diva. Anyway, Kelly, all day long, we searched. I felt just brokenhearted. And then I went over and I was thinking, why would she do that? They're safe here. She was safe here. She has meals here. Well, she was still willing to have meals with us. And she didn't seem to be wet. I mean, she came from somewhere, but she wasn't soaking wet like she should have been with the weather the way it was. Anyway, I was feeling bereft. Des was out in the rain, walking around, and there was even lightning. You were out there in the lightning trying to find Kelly's kittens.
Yeah, I was worried, I kept hearing stuff. I was yelling at the thunder because I was trying to listen. I was like, shut up, I'm trying to hear.
Anyway, this went on all day. Well, last evening, we were trying to stake the house out. One of us was looking out the back window. One of us was looking out the front window so we could see which direction Kelly was headed, because we thought, well, that way we can at least keep an eye on the situation a little bit. We'll know where the kittens are, and maybe she'll bring them. Anyway, I was outside last night. I called her name because I was right on the corner of the house where I could check from two directions. Kelly, Kelly. And she, all of a sudden, the automatic light in the screen room, the patio there, came on. And I went in, and sure enough, she's in there. She had been disappeared because I had looked everywhere. And so I just stood there. Next thing, she goes over to this corner where the wood is propped up, just 1x3s, a couple 2x4s, and some cut-off pieces of both of those that I just threw in that corner, because when I was making my bar, there were these panel doors that were propped up over in that corner, and so I just shoved everything to the side over there and got the doors out so I could start making.
That's all that extra lumber from your servants' quarters that you were building, right?
Oh, yeah. That'll be finished any time now for all my servants.
Rebecca
you don't get hands
Rebecca and Tom are
these.
like, we can't stay in this tent.
And Jarvis. And
misinformation. We can't stay out here much longer.
Who do you think you are, Your Majesty?
So you had all, kind of
junk.
just, scrap wood and stuff, right, in the corner?
Precariously thrown in there. There were a lot of, scrap pieces of wood that weren't anchored to the, that weren't resting on the floor. They were resting precariously against other ones. Anyway, that's where Kelly was. And when I went over to that corner, I could hear all of these little squeaks in there. So that's where she had taken the kittens. Now, the box, I realized yesterday, the missing persons alert was up, that the box probably was too small. So I had found a bigger box. I lined that with a nice fluffy blanket donated by Des, which we cut up. Anyways, so that's all in there and everything's ready. And then I saw Kelly wrangling one of her kittens, and I thought, okay, I'm just going to get out of the way. Maybe it's too much human interference, so I'll get out of the way, I'll go upstairs and go in the house. So later, it was after dark, I went down to check and see. I figured she'll have all of those kittens in the new box. I went down. No. Nobody was in the box. And I look, and all of a sudden, I went over to the woody corner over there, and one of the kittens comes literally walking out on, just like a normal big kitten, comes walking out. I thought, wow, I didn't know you could walk. And it's the boldest one, the one we call Sassy. Sassy comes walking out, and then Kelly came out, and she had a look on her face that if I was going to interpret it, it would be, oh no, what am I supposed to do now? So I thought, Kelly, you can't keep the kittens under there, because in that corner borders one of those big old Spanish revival dressers, a chest of drawers, and it's big. And we use that. There's all the plumbing
parts. Those are
parts.
worth a couple grand.
Are they?
I don't know. I'm just teasing you.
It hasn't been refinished or painted or anything like that. And we keep the plumbing parts in there. Dave keeps some electronic supplies in the drawers. So he took that over, and that he did not have permission to do that, I would like to state. But he did, and it's been in there a long time. So, and I didn't protest it or evict him way back when, because the point, for me, the goal was always to use that as the back bar and have a nice little bar there because we have a bar height table.
How many bars you going to have out there?
No, I got this bar height table for $10, guys.
It's going to have to be an intervention.
$10 at the thrift shop. And so because I have that, because it just it looks symmetrical. That's the big goal here. Not that I enjoy my wine occasionally, but
what she's not telling you is that the whole thing is held up by her collection of wine boxes.
Oh, that's a dirty lie. You and Des. That is an absolute lie.
So what's the dresser?
Anyway.
What's the connection with the Kelly thing? Is that like next to the boards?
Yes. The boards are chucked in the corner between the side of that dresser and the wall. And I just threw them in there. If I had ever dreamed that this would be a problem, I would have.
Speaking of dreams, don't let me forget about the dream I had.
Tell it.
That we have had Freaky Fridays episodes. We've had Freaky Fridays episodes about lucid dreaming and then ESP. And so the other night I actually had a dream about.
Is that why you came over?
Yeah. And you ordered some balloons. But I had a dream about the box being too small. And then in the dream, you gave them a bigger box, but it was like not as deep, and it was just huge, wide, and but not as tall. So, and that was before I knew they were even missing. So. Oh
my goodness!
So it was
you had a premonition. That's a premonition.
It's a sixth sense, but also like a. I don't know.
It's a Kelly. It's a Kelly sense. She does like you, and you always play with her. And when he comes, she knows when he's coming. If she hears his car or his voice, she runs to the door. And you were giving her treats and all of this stuff, so you're her favorite. Anyway, long story short, I was worried that the kittens would crawl in under that dresser. And believe me, that thing is monstrously heavy. And the three of us, there's no way. We could lift that dresser in order to get kittens out from underneath it. And they're little enough that they could, the baseline of it along the floor line curves
Rebecca
up
and Tom?
Just a little bit. I would have to have my servants.
Yeah, your servants.
My apparition servants, well, they would have to do it on their own.
So is everything good now, or what's happening now?
I picked up Sassy and put Sassy in the new box, and then I thought I'll help Kelly get him out there. So little by little and carefully, I needed to remove these pieces of wood that I threw in there. Oh, I wished I didn't do that. And carefully, so that nothing was dislodged, because they were back there, and she looked like she appreciated that. And I thought, well, she can move them back, but I'll arrange the wood so that it isn't a danger, that it can't, chunks of wood can't fall down on the kittens. And I'll block up that hole that goes in underneath that giant dresser.
Do you think it was an issue of like they've outgrown that other box?
Now I do.
How does that work? How does nature work with a feral cat like that?
See, that's the thing. Well, even a domestic cat will do that. They move their babies around because
don't get me started on domestic cats. Ugh. No, I love cats. I'm deathly allergic to cats, but I've lived with some cats that I really have come to love. But you just can't have your litter box next to the dining room table. I'm sorry.
No, that's disgusting. Dave is allergic to cats too, so we've never had indoor cats. But the thing with Kelly is we have the pleasure of having a cat. But there's no litter box to deal with. She doesn't smell bad. And she's kind of, because she's not fully moved in. You know, she's sort of, she likes to come when she likes to come for a short visit, and then off she goes. And so it's been really a pleasure having her around, and it's been wonderful watching the kittens, and it's like the best of having a cat. She almost seems a dog-like, because if you call her name, she comes running from wherever she is. You call a few times, and Kelly comes running, and then, like I say, she disappears. And when it was just her, I used to worry about her, just little her. when I'd hear the owls at night, I'd think, oh, Kelly, I hope you're tucked in somewhere where you can't be seen, and don't be doing any moonlight marauding out in the garden or anything, because
it's funny because she seems to just have those natural instincts on what to do.
I wasn't sure because she's so little herself, and especially first-time mommies, and I don't know how much she learned when she was a baby and how much is just pure instinct. But she seems to be a pretty good mom. And yesterday I wasn't at all sure about that because of how nonchalant she was. And she watched us. And I know she could tell that there was anxiety, that we were all concerned. So the update this morning for kittens, which I extracted them from the wood storage corner, put them in the box. This morning, they're all still in the box. Kelly's in the box. They've got a little more room to spread out. And at night, we put a blanket over the top and then clothespin it along the top edge of the box so that they feel more tucked in and just safer. I would feel safer having that. It's in an area where the rain can't come in through the screen, and so everything's good for now. But I still wouldn't be surprised if she doesn't disappear with those kittens. But she's going to have her hands full, and I think she'll be happy to have the sides on the box, because now that they have their sea legs, it's going to be a bigger problem. I think that the kittens, the cat, all of these little things, we have birds nesting in the kitchen window. All of these little things.
That's right, you do. There's like a gigantic nest in your kitchen window suddenly.
Yeah, there really is. And that was cool too, because they're a little bigger than a sparrow.
It's of high interest to the cat, by the way.
Well, she did. She was in the kitchen and she saw the birds in the window building this nest. The birds themselves are small, a little bigger than a sparrow. Today I'm going to spend some time looking up what kind of birds those are. But we got video. I had taped up a flap of plastic on that window, a couple layers, because the hinge on the window is not right, and you get drafts through there. And this winter, when it was so cold on some of those days, the kitchen table is right under that window, and this draft would come through there. You couldn't enjoy sitting. Your meal was instantly cold. That's how big that draft was coming through there. Anyway, so now we have the birdies making a nest in the kitchen window. We have Kelly down below in the patio.
Well, if Kelly does anything to those birds, she'll remind her she might end up on Dateline or something, you know.
That's right. Yeah, but that window, there's really no way that she can climb up there. There's nothing under there that she can really get a foothold on, and it's too high for her to be able to just sling her. There's nothing to grab onto.
Well, I've seen her climb up your telephone pole.
Yeah, but there's something she can dig her claws into.
I don't underestimate her at all. She's like all
she's
cute
wild.
and innocent, but she is wild.
That's true. That's true. I'll have to go out back and just make sure that there's no way she can harm my birdies. But they're in between, let's see, the screen and the glass, the window glass. So they've gotten in between the window screen and the glass. And I pulled up that plastic so that we can take a peek in there and see what's going on. But I leave it so it hangs down so they're not looking into the kitchen, because I don't want to scare them away. I'm loving having that there. And we'll get video of that.
See, this has been, I think this has been a great April Fool's Day Eve pre-show.
Yeah, and as a folklorist, is there any implication in that other than getting ready for April Fool's Day?
Well, I think it is spring. It is spring. And April Fool's Day does have something to do with the calendar. And tomorrow's episode will try to turn our eyes away from the nervous news, personal and national and international, and we will try to just...
With the nervous news, every day is a Fool's Day.
That's right, if we allow it. Guys, we're down to our last few seconds of our show.
So, as a teaser for tomorrow, are you suggesting that April Fool's Day is about more than just pranks?
Oh my goodness. Pranks, yes. Fools, yes. Mistakes, yes. Calendar, yes. Oh, there's so much to it. It's like the layers of an onion.
Rookie mistakes?
And the
Yeah.
history?
And the history. We'll have some fun with it.
Okay.
Wait, there's a history to
Yes,
April
there's
Fool's Day?
deep,
There's a
deep,
history
deep,
to
deep
everything.
history back about as far as it can go. I'll tease that, and I will say thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed the personal nervous news, happy ending, and we hope you stay tuned in to the big news. And we thank you again. Count your blessings, for there are many, but you got to look for them.
See you tomorrow. Or will we?